My name is Haley Holes. I'm one of the enrollment counselors here at Phoenix Seminary. If I have not had the pleasure of meeting you either virtually or in person yet, so glad to be doing that now. Excited that you're interested in Phoenix Seminary and really happy to spend a little bit of time sharing about this place that we love so much and answering questions and hopefully giving you some practical next steps. So to kick us off, we have Dr. David Hogg, who is our interim president of the seminary, also professor of church history and expert in all things medieval theology. So we're excited to have him here, and he'll kick us off with just a little bit about Phoenix Seminary as a graduate institution, place for you to learn about biblical and theological studies. So Dr. Hogg, you can take it from here.
Thank you. Well, I think you've said it all. Once you said expert in all things medieval, everyone decided that's it. I know where I'm going to seminary, because who doesn't want to study the Middle Ages? Let's be honest. It's high on everyone's priority list. I know Reformation, whatever, we can deal with that later. Medieval is what we want now. So, yeah, I can appreciate that. Very good. Well, welcome. Let me add my welcome. It's great to see at least some of you. Some of you are still hiding. That's okay. But thank you all for joining us. What I want to do I have 10 minutes. I think I have 10 minutes-ish. That probably means 5 minutes. Okay. I don't want to take up too much time here, but very quickly, I want to answer two questions. One is, why go to seminary at all? Broad question. And then second question is, why Phoenix Seminary? So why go to seminary at all? As I was actually thinking about this question this morning, and so I have a number of friends, as I'm sure you all do, who are in the medical field or the dental field, something like this. If you know anything about the history of how doctors and dentists prepared 50 years ago to today, what they go through today is it takes longer. There's more specialization, there are more classes, there's more reading, there's more of everything. Why is that? Well, the answer is because there's now more to deal with. There's more that we know. There's more that we have to integrate. The world has become more complex, not less complex. And so they have maintained a high standard in terms of what it takes to prepare to be a doctor or a dentist. Academic preparation, it's kind of interesting. If you go back 50 to 70 years ago, and if you look at faculties, the idea was back then that if you had an MA, a master's degree, or an MSc, a Master of Science degree, that was really sufficient to be on faculty. And a PhD might be preferred, but it's okay. We'll take people with masters. Now, of course, in the academic world, with so much more information available to us, so much more being written, it's now PhD is preferred, and master's isn't really quite sufficient anymore. In other words, as the world has progressed and things have grown more complicated, different disciplines have recognized the need for longer training and more in-depth training because of greater complexity. And as I thought about that, I thought about training for ministry, or just training people in the church to be better equipped to answer questions that people in their church have, whether it's to be a Bible study leader, a teacher, a preacher, whatever it might be. And I thought, well, let's see, has the world in the last 50 years become simpler and easier to navigate, or more complex in some respects and harder to navigate? Well, if you ask me, the answer would be, well, let's see, with questions on gender, that's become a lot more challenging and complex. Questions of social justice issues, how to navigate those well and sensitively as a believer, that's become more complex. The political landscape is not as friendly as we might like it to be. And so navigating that is challenging as well. So in other words, training for ministry, training to be a more well-informed believer in an intentional way, I think is something that continues to demand some attention. And I think that's what seminary does and should do. Seminary should be a place where you can invest time, you can invest yourself, both intellectually, emotionally, spiritually, in order to have the ability to know how to navigate these things broadly. And as we say, we like to train people for a lifetime of faithful ministry, and that's really what we're looking to do. And so that's my second question, is why Phoenix Seminary in particular? Well, I'm going to say 5 things here, but don't worry, they're not 10 minutes each. Very quickly, faculty is when you choose a seminary, I think you should choose a seminary in large part, though not exclusively, because of who the faculty are, because they're the ones who are going to be teaching you. They're the ones who are going to be training you. They're the ones who's going to be answering your questions, modeling what it is to be a scholar, as we say, a scholar with a shepherd's heart. And so you want to make sure that you have that. And that's exactly how we've been hiring at Phoenix Seminary for years now, is are these scholars who have shepherd's hearts, and our faculty are definitely that. Also, we have a faculty, this is the sinful part of this entire thing where I'm going to just boast, but I'm not boasting in myself. So maybe I get away with it. I don't know. We'll see if the lightning strikes. But our faculty are actually award-winning faculty in terms of their scholarship. Each year, there are opportunities for scholars to for scholarship to be reviewed, books to be reviewed, and so forth. And we have literally half of our faculty have won awards for their scholarship. So that tells you that this is a faculty that knows what they're talking about, is well-trained, and that's great. And the other side of that is I love the fact that they haven't lost the shepherd's heart. One thing that we'll probably talk about more later is the mentoring program that we have. And students, it's not a requirement, but it's something that we have added that we think is important for students. And so we offer the opportunity for you to be mentored in an outside the classroom opportunity in small groups with our faculty. So you get to see their heart as much as you get to see their scholarship. Second thing is curriculum. Our curriculum is one that, as we like to say around here, it gives you the meat and potatoes of what is necessary for ministry. We emphasize the biblical studies, theological studies, historical studies, and the practical disciplines. In other words, we want you to be well informed how to handle scripture. We want you to know the tradition that this comes out of, and we want you to know how you can apply that and talk to people about that in a meaningful way in the midst of the world. So the curriculum really does matter to us, and we'll talk more about this later, but the curriculum also is offered fully either online or on campus. I always advocate for on campus. I think it's the experience you get is richer, it's deeper, you get to know friends, you get to make relationships, you get to know your faculty. In fact, just yesterday, was it yes, yesterday, I was talking with a pastor in the area who's a graduate here, and I asked about his experience at Phoenix Seminary, and he said he loved it. And he said, actually, the thing that I would emphasize most is that I decided to be an on-campus student, not online. And he said, furthermore, he said, because I thought it was important to get to know my professors. So whenever there were office hours, I would be in my professor's office just getting to know them. And he said that was almost as rich as the opportunity to sit in their class. So I loved hearing that from somebody who's gone through the program, experienced it, and it's not just me, in my position saying, yes, I think it's better. It's actually someone who's gone through it in that way. So let me encourage you, if you can, as you think about studying here, if you have that opportunity to be on campus, I'd strongly encourage you to do that. If you can't, if you live so far away, you're not able to move from where you're at, I get it, I understand, and we'll certainly look for ways to make sure you're connected to the community. Third is place. If you are here already, you'll know this. This is one, either depending on who you read, it's either the 4th or 5th largest city in America, and certainly one of the fastest growing cities. So if you're looking for opportunity for ministry, you will find it here. And so it's a great place to invest yourself. And let's also be honest, during the school year, you cannot beat the weather. It is in fact paradise. There are blue skies, 75 degrees, it's fantastic. The summer, not so much, run away. But during the year, the academic year, absolutely fantastic. Fourth is opportunities. One of the things we have developed over the years is something we call the Ministry Apprenticeship Alliance. It's a mouthful, but in essence, what this is, it's an opportunity for you to learn the practical disciplines in a church. So in other words, instead of learning preaching in a classroom, which has some value, you learn preaching in a church from a pastor where you can actually practice that preaching in front of a congregation. You can learn pastoral leadership and ministry in a church while you're there ministering in that church, either as a volunteer or an intern. There are other aspects to it, but that's something that's a little bit unique to who we are. Every seminary will have a component where you have some sort of practical requirement. What we've tried to do is, and are doing, is wedding together the courses that you will take in practical ministry with your actual practical ministry where you are in that church. So it's not just go off to an internship for summer, tick a box, you're done. It's actually spend a year, 2 years in a church under a pastor, or at least alongside a pastor, learning those things. So faculty, curriculum, place, and opportunities are for me very important things when you're thinking about Phoenix Seminary, what distinguishes us from others. And then finally, I'll just come back to scholarship with a shepherd's heart. That's the last thing that sums it all up. I really think that's a part of who we are. We do want to make sure that you are going to be challenged academically. And so I want to know that up front. If you're in the MDiv program, yes, you'll learn Greek, yes, you'll learn Hebrew, and yes, you'll love it. I know that. It's a word of prophecy. If you're in the other programs, they have some different requirements and so forth. But no matter what class you're in, you will be stretched. I promise you that. But we believe stretched in a way that will stretch you towards Jesus. It will stretch you towards the Word. It will stretch you towards greater spiritual life than anything else. So that scholarship with the shepherd's heart really is who we are. Did I manage to do that in 8 to 10 minutes? I don't know. I hope so.
It was about 10, so that was
Hey,
great.
there we go. Success.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hogg. We're really grateful for your wisdom, your experience, your encouragement, and your time as well. I know that you're a busy man who has class in about 45 minutes, so we'll let you go. But thank you so much for your time. I hope you all were encouraged by that as well. But you are welcome to leave now, Dr. Hogg. Thank you.
Right. Well, I look forward to hopefully seeing all of you at some stage. That would be fantastic. And hearing of successful applications. So thanks so much. Appreciate you guys being here.
Wonderful. Well, I'm going to go ahead and kick us off with some logistics. I'll talk through our programs and then online learning, and then I will hand it over to my colleagues and they'll cover a little bit more. And then we will have time for a Q&A. So if you've already submitted questions, we'll hit those first. If you have not, you can put them in the chat. And then if we have more time, we can keep going with those, but we do have a giveaway that we're going to do at the end. So stay on the call until the very end if you can. Alrighty, so I'm going to talk about our programs. Dr. Hogg mentioned the Master of Divinity. That is our flagship program. So that's the one that we hold that one very dearly. It's the most robust offering that we have. Like he said, you will cover both Greek and Hebrew. You'll do lots of biblical studies courses, theological studies, church history. He will be one of your professors in that. We'll do some practical ministry skills, intercultural studies, ethics, things like that. So it's going to cover a lot of ground. You're going to go into a lot of depth. And you're also going to realize how much you don't know about any of these topics as you keep going. So it's great. I know that Mac and I are both in this program. We're both really passionate about it. We love it a lot. So if you have questions about the MDiv, let us know. We can talk to you more about the student experience in that program. We also have 2 Master of Arts programs. We have a Master of Arts in Ministry and a Master of Arts in Biblical and Theological Studies. They're both about 50% of the MDiv credit-wise. So you'll cover the same Bible and theology courses in all 3 programs, but from there, they're going to kind of split off. And the Master of Arts in Biblical and Theological Studies will cover more the church history and the biblical language side of things. And then the Master of Arts in Ministry will cover more the intercultural studies, ministry skills, kind of bridging the gap between seminary and your practical ministry a little bit faster than the Master of Arts in Biblical and Theological Studies will. And then we have the graduate diploma, which is just a certificate program. So it's not a full master's degree, but it's taught at that level. You will have the same, Bible and theology courses, just fewer of them, and you'll have some electives that you get to pick. That's it for the master's level. We do have an advanced master's degree called the Master of Theology, which is a stepping stone to the PhD. Typically, it's our terminal research degree. So if you are interested in that path, that's a great program to think through. It typically comes after the Master of Divinity, but you can enroll concurrently once you've done about 60 credits of the Master of Divinity. And then we have a Doctor of Ministry program as well. So that's the highest level that we offer. It's an excellent program. It's a smaller program, so you have class sizes of about 8 to 12 usually, of just people in ministry who have a lot of experience and really rich conversations. So lots of program options for you guys. I know that Abby is throwing some links in the chat. We have some pages on our website that you can look at for that. For online programs, the graduate diploma, the Master of Arts in Ministry, Master of Arts in Biblical and Theological Studies, and Master of Divinity are now all available 100% online. So if you are not in Arizona, or you are unable to make it to campus consistently for classes or whatever that situation may be, we have online options for you. So you can do those programs fully online. You will not have to come to campus ever for those programs, but you can if you would like to. We would love to encourage you to come to campus as much as you can. either to do an intensive for a week or to take a class on campus in the semester and just do one on campus, one online. Lots of flexibility there. We'd be happy to talk more about that, but I'm going to hand it over to Jamie, and Jamie will cover some more information for you guys.
Awesome. Thank you, Haley. It's good to be with you all. Well, it's morning for us. It might not be morning for you, but today it's good to be with you. I am going to quickly cover a couple of scholarships and financial aid options that we have for students. And so this might be a lot of information, and we can send you this recording, and we can also follow up via email with more details. But just wanted to give a brief flyover of kind of the main ways that students utilize scholarships to make seminary doable financially. So the three main ways that we have, the first are what we call application deadline scholarships. And these are kind of the easiest to get for MDiv. Oh, sorry about that. For MDiv students, you can get up to $7,000 by just meeting certain application deadlines. And I'll talk through what those are in just a second, but I want to talk through the different amounts per program. So MDiv, you can get up to $7,000. For our MA programs, the Master of Arts in Biblical and Theological Studies and the Master of Arts in Ministry, you can get up to $4,000. And then for our Doctor of Ministry, our Master of Theology, and our Graduate Diploma, which are the shortest degrees, you can get up to $2,000. And the way that you get that is just by completing your application and registering for classes by certain dates. So if Abby or someone is able to put these dates in the chat, that would be super helpful. If not, we can follow up afterward. But if you complete your application form, and I know some of you have already met these deadlines, so that's wonderful. But if you complete your application form by October 17th, if you finish your application by November 21st, and then if you register for class by December 12th, then you would get that full amount that I mentioned for each program. And you would utilize that $1,000 per semester until you've used the total that you've received. So again, that's kind of the easiest way to get some scholarship money. So we would really encourage you to do those things. Finishing, the application form, the application, registering for class is not hard. So we would love for you to be able to take advantage of that. And again, we'll put those dates, we'll follow up with those dates. And if you have questions about like specifics related to those, feel free to reach out to our team, your enrollment counselor, and we can answer those questions. The second main way that students utilize scholarships is through what we call our academic scholarship. And that's something that could last your whole program. Basically, all students who maintain a 2.5 GPA and take at least 2 classes in the fall and spring semesters receive 30% off tuition. Yeah, if you're able to maintain those 2 requirements, the 2.5 GPA and taking 2 classes in the fall and spring, then you would just automatically get 30% off tuition. So with both the app deadline scholarships I mentioned,
my name is Jerry Perkins, MSW.
And the that academic scholarship, the average student, even though our cost per credit is about $550, the average student pays about $330 per credit hour with those scholarship options. And about 80% of our students receive some kind of scholarship. So we want to make it as doable as possible financially for students. The third way and final way are called our distinguished scholarships. And those are ones that you would apply for. And so keep an eye on your email for that. We have an application period every year for those, and those vary in what they offer. So it could be a full tuition scholarship or less, but keep an eye on your email inbox and we'll send you a link to apply for those. And then really briefly, I just wanted to mention, we have something called the Church Partnership Grant. If your church wants to support you in any way financially, they can, and Phoenix Seminary will match what they give up to 10% of your tuition. So that's just another way to try and get your out-of-pocket costs down. And then finally, we have something called the Partner in Ministry Grant, which is essentially our grant that allows spouses of students to attend Phoenix Seminary tuition free. So if you are married and your spouse is interested in joining you in seminary training, we really encourage that if it's doable. And in order to encourage that, we allow spouses to go tuition free, and they don't have to be in the same degree program as you. I was also supposed to talk about faculty, but Dr. Hogg kind of touched on that already, and I think I'm already over my allotted time. So Haley, should I pass it back to you? Is that okay? Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Jamie. Yes, Dr. Hogg had probably one of the best pitches for our faculty that any of us could have mustered up. So I guess that's what you get for also being the Vice President of Academic Affairs. I'm going to hand it over to Mac. Mac will handle some more logistical information, and then he will also facilitate the Q&A with you guys. So we have your questions that you sent in already. If you have more, send them in the chat. And Mac, take it away.
Thank you, Haley. It's a joy to be with you all. It's really cool to put some faces to names. I've talked to some of you all over the phone and email, so it's always fun to see you guys. I got a super quick thing. We're going to run through the application process quickly, and then we can get to your questions. Love to hear from y'all. Jamie is super amazing and covered kind of the other portion of what I was going to talk about. So look at us. We're just moving along. So the application process, is I've worked with some of you on this. It's pretty straightforward. A lot of y'all have already filled out that application form that we've been talking about. This is kind of the initial form that you'll see whenever you create an account in our application portal, and kind of the first step. The rest of the process that rounds that out will be a testimony. For those of y'all who haven't gotten there, we're not looking for anything super crazy, around 400 words, kind of detailing how you came to Christ, probably leading over a little bit into how that led you to seminary. That could also be helpful for the admissions committee to know as well. And then after that, we'll be looking for a personal recommendation and a pastoral recommendation. Typically what we're looking for here is for folks who have known you for at least a year. And the personal recommendation can be anyone who is an immediate, like an immediate family member. And then the pastoral recommendation, if it's your pastor, that's great. But if there's someone else who's in a position of ministry leadership who knows you better, then that's perfectly okay as well. And then for those of y'all who have a bachelor's degree, we'll be looking for official copies of your transcripts from them. Pretty standard. If you have questions related to getting those from your university, we're happy to help facilitate that in whatever way that we can. For those of you I've talked to who maybe aren't in that situation, who are applying as a non-bachelor degree candidate, and then I've probably already told you this, but we will simply, instead of asking for those transcripts, we'll send you an article for you to read and respond to. It's a pretty straightforward process there as well. So that's kind of a quick run through of the application process. I kind of blew through that. So obviously, if you have more questions, feel free to drop it in the chat or drop me a line later. So I think now is the time where we'll head on to the Q&A. Am I right, Haley? And then, yeah. So I'd love to kind of open up the floor here. And are there questions that I'm supposed to be seeing right now, or are we going to do this live?
You should have a document that I shared with you.
Great. Lovely. Look at that. Guys, if you haven't worked with Haley Holes, then you should, because she is killing the game. Okay, so let's get into it. So I'll answer a couple of these, and then happy to hear from any other, if you want to drop it in the chat or just shout out whenever we get there. One of our first questions we got was, when does the spring semester start? Great question. It's going to start January 16th is going to be the first day of classes for that one. We've got another question here that is kind of a good one. It says, do you know if anyone who graduated with an MABTS went on to study at the PhD level? It's a great question. I don't know for sure. I have asked around. We do have some folks who have gone on to doctoral work. I would definitely say that our master's degrees are a great basis for that, especially our Master of Divinity in particular. We also offer a Master of Theology that is a great stepping stone to the PhD as well. So we are a great place to look if that's what you're interested in. Our faculty will equip you well, and our programs are, especially that Master of Divinity and THM will equip you well. All righty. So those are the couple written ones that I have. And okay, I'm looking in the chat. I've got my eyes on the chat. And if anyone has a question that they'd like to either throw in the chat or say to me, I'd love to answer that. And if I don't know, then one of my lovely colleagues will help out. So I'm seeing a question from Binta talking about the richness of being in person, but you want me to speak a little bit more to the hybrid model. I'd love to do that. And if Jamie or Haley, if you've got something you want to throw in there, feel free. So as Dr. Hogg was talking about, in-person model is definitely going to be kind of the most formative and impactful, I think. But I really am glad that we are able to offer this opportunity to students to pursue hybrid. So I know a lot of students personally who are doing a class, like maybe a couple or one in person and then maybe one online. We have some classes that will kind of rotate. So for example, you can't really take Greek 1 in the spring. So for students who want to start that track, it's helpful for them to be able to do that, maybe online. So it kind of gives you great flexibility, and you're able to kind of determine that for yourself each semester. It's not like you're locked in for the whole degree program, whether you're doing in person or online. So you're able to kind of determine that for yourself as you move through each semester. If you want more elaboration on that, feel free to connect with me or Haley afterward if you want more specific questions about the hybrid model. And of course, Haley and Jamie, if you have other things, feel free to throw that in there. But if not, I'm going to keep moving along here. We're getting some good questions in the chat. I'm seeing are there any extracurricular clubs on campus? Not necessarily, but we do have a pretty active student body, especially within our, whenever you become a student here, you'll join our Phoenix Seminary Facebook group. You could probably join it now too, if you'd like. We'd love to have you be in there and see what it's like. So we have a lot of activity in there. People want to get together, whether it's doing an event that they call Lunch and Liturgy, where we're gathering together, eating lunch and doing prayer together, or Friendsgivings at each other's houses, and so on and so forth. So there's a pretty active student body involvement and fellowship there. We're also starting different events like family dinners and different things that you can come to facilitate some of that as well. So great question. Class sizes. This is a good question. I want to touch on this. Class sizes are going to run from 15 to 25 on average. Typically kind of around that. I've had a lot of classes that are around that 15 number and some that are maybe a little bit bigger. You really aren't going to get much bigger than that, except for maybe some of your, Hebrew 1, Greek 1, Intro to New Testament. These kind of introductory courses might run a little bigger. But yeah, it's a much more intimate class setting than I've experienced in the past at a lot of other schools, which is really great. Facilitates conversation super well, and you get to have way more opportunities to connect with people than you would otherwise. All righty. So those are a couple answers to your questions. I know we promised you guys we'd be off at 11:30. So we have your questions in the chat. We're happy to follow up with any more that we see. We will definitely make sure to reach out to y'all. I think the last thing I have is to announce our giveaway winner. Am I just doing that right? So I'm super excited to announce that Benta Clark is the winner of our giveaway. Benta, we will connect with you and get some more details on how we can get you that afterward. But for now, there you go. I love the clapping emoji. That's great. Thanks for being on. Okay, we're a minute over. Appreciate you guys for being on and hearing us out today. And like I said, we're happy to follow up with y'all. So appreciate y'all for being on, and we are looking forward to connecting with you soon.